thank you so much for joining us from the beautiful Lake District today. You are about to set off on something extraordinary. Do tell us whereabouts are you and what are you up to?
Well, right now I'm currently sat in the Crow Park Hotel in Keswick, and that backdrop that you can see out there is some of the fells that I'll be covering over the next 14 days. So why am I up here? Well, I'm taking on the Wainwright fells, and they're a series of hills, if you will, in the Lake District, made famous by Alfred Wainwright. In the Lake District, there's a specific challenge. It's called the 214 Challenge, and that's what I'm taking on. What does that really mean to everybody out there? It means that over the next 14 days, I'll be climbing 214 of these fells. And when I say climbing them, I'll be climbing them with everything I need from the start. So food, water, tent, sleeping bag, because this is a solo and unsupported challenge. That means when I set off, I'm not allowed any support whatsoever until I get to the end. And really, it's probably going to take 14 days. It's covering 520 kilometers. There's around about 35,000 meters of climbing. What does that mean again? That's equivalent to 4 times climbing Everest. And I'm doing all of that with a 20 kilogram pack. And that's, again, the equivalent of carrying an 8-year-old child around with me. So it's a big old challenge, but definitely one I'm looking forward to.
A well-fed 8-year-old child as well. Yeah, it's extraordinary. And for those who are familiar with the Wainwrights will obviously know quite what the challenge it is. And for those who are not familiar with the Wainwrights, those statistics really bring it to the front of mind as to quite what a challenge it is. And obviously, so when you say unsupported, you're carrying your tent, your sleeping bag, all your food for the time you're out on the hill, everything.
Absolutely everything I need, everything that I need to survive when I'm out there. Extra battery packs for powering phones and trackers and watches. I'll be trying to communicate with people, just sending messages on social media, keeping people up to date. People can follow me, and it's important that I've got power. So, yeah, some of the big things are food, power, and of course, water. One of the things specific about this challenge is you can actually drink from streams. So that's one of the things that I'll be doing when I'm out there. But yeah, everything else is self-sufficient, solo and unsupported.
Fantastic. Now clearly you've got a military background, so you're used to big hikes in the hills. What sort of preparation have you been doing for this?
Well, there's a couple of things I've been doing. You did mention my military career. I spent 13 years in the military, and part of that was running around with packs on. So that's not unfamiliar to me. Also, I'm training for Walking with the Wounded's Marathon des Sables in October. So I have been preparing for a period of time, but there's nothing like getting up in the hills that you see behind me. And I've been doing that. In fact, I did a 3-day trial a couple of days ago just to make sure that I'm prepared and my equipment's good to go. But I've been training for a while, both physically and of course mentally, because it's going to be a big challenge mentally as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that part of your reason for doing it for charity, for tying in with Walking with the Wounded? What's prompted you to support Walking with the Wounded?
Well, as a veteran, I've had the pleasure, and it's been slightly unfortunate that I've served with people that have suffered from injuries, but be that physically or be that mentally. And this is my way of supporting those guys. And I know the work that you do at Walking with the Wounded goes out and it really touches those people that we need it to touch. It helps them. I've seen some of the projects that you've done, whether it's trekking, whether it's Marathon des Sables, whether it's just some of the smaller ones where the sleep outs, where you just generate awareness and the funds go to the people that really need it. So this is my way of putting myself front and center, hurting myself, going up and down these hills, but hopefully it'll generate some awareness and it'll generate some much needed funds for the charity that will go out and help them. And I see some of the things that you do around mental health, and it's just been Mental Health Awareness Week, and I think it's perfect timing for that.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much again for your support. It really does make a huge difference. And you've got a Virgin Money giving page, which you'll be sharing, so people can, and we'll put a link to that in the notes for this video. So anybody who's interested in clocking your progress can find out more and add a donation there and spread the word, which would be great. And you're going to be having a tracker on you, I believe.
That's right. And having watched a few people with trackers before, it gets quite addictive. So what happens is I turn it on just before I set off, and it pretty much follows my progress around a route that I've already planned in. And you can, as a viewer, can sit and watch my progress. And of course, it's quite addictive seeing how people are getting on. But yeah, that's there for everybody to see.
So no cheeky detours to fast food establishments.
No, none of that. Nothing like that. It's these days. It's impossible to get away with those things. Everybody's tracked, and there'll be photographs sent at specific peaks and across the way. And actually, I'll be keeping a bit of a video diary that will, I suppose, demonstrate the highs and lows, because it's not all going to be plain sailing, running up and down these hills. There are going to be moments where I actually have to dig really, really deep, whether that's I'm having physical issues or whether that's I'm just doubting the fact. Maybe I'm a little bit behind time, or I'm struggling with nutrition, because actually being able to carry enough food to be able to sustain you throughout that whole period is very difficult. I'll be in calorie deficit most of the time that I'm out there.
Yeah, quite extraordinary. I know you've been working with the guys at Resilient Nutrition to come up with some plans on that front. Is that one of your biggest fears, or what's your biggest fear going into this? You've got some beautiful weather behind you, but the lakes is rather prone to change.
Absolutely. There are a couple of things. Let's touch on the Resilient Nutrition. I think those guys have done a fantastic job. For the weight, and that's one of the challenges, minimizing the weight when I'm out there, to be able to provide enough food for 14 days and it to be calorie dense. It's fantastic. And I'll send some pictures and some images and some feedback whilst I'm there from the guys at Resilient Nutrition. In terms of some of the challenges, there are going to be many. You're absolutely right. The weather out there looks absolutely fantastic, but it's prone to change. In 10 minutes time, it could be snow, it could be hail. In the last week alone, I've seen snow up here. So, of course, that's going to be one of the challenges. But do you know what? The challenges, it's probably something I've not even thought of. And hopefully I've thought about most things. But we'll see. But I'll be honest and open about it, because I think me doing this absolutely generates awareness for walking with the wounded. But I want to show other people that it's possible. All you have to do is get outside and get in the hills. It will test you, but it's actually rewarding as well.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we've got our longest day fundraising campaign at the moment, and we're hoping that your efforts will certainly inspire some people to get involved and have a sort of longest day of their own. And I think it's that fact that you can go further than you think you can. I mean, have you ever run this far before?
I've done some challenges. I attempted coast to coast a couple of years ago, and I managed 100 kilometers. I've done some long distances. But you don't just go out and run 100 kilometers. Not normal people don't anyway. You build up to that, but you've got to start somewhere, whether it's 5K, whether it's 10K, and then just slowly, progressively build up. But you always doubt yourself. If I looked at this challenge and said, I've got to run 520 kilometers, climb 35,000 meters, of course, it almost seems insurmountable. But if I break it down to a day, I've got to run 40 to 45 Ks a day, and then break it down further still and say I've got to get to the next checkpoint, then of course it breaks it down into bite-sized chunks, and it makes it much less daunting.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you can't eat the elephant whole.
Absolutely not.
So in terms of when you get to those difficult times, what do you draw on? What's your inspiration to get through? Be that from your experiences in the military or personal motivations?
I think that there's an important number of factors. You're absolutely right. What's my motivation for doing this? Well, my motivation for doing this is we've already talked about: generate funds and awareness for walking with the wounded and inspire other people. But what's my inspiration? Well, I look at some of the people that you work with in terms of Duncan Slater going and completing Marathon des Sables. Then I look at other people out there that are doing very, very inspirational things. So I draw upon that. But also when I'm in those moments, I don't hide from the fact that it's difficult. I embrace it. But I use my mind to focus on something very different from the challenge that I'm facing at that time, because I just need to be mindful. If I get myself and stay in that dark place, I won't get out of it. So it's important to focus on something else, whether it is I'm struggling on fell number 49 and the next one's Helvellyn. Well, what a beautiful place to go, and what a privilege to be there. So I focus on that moment, not where I am now.
Yeah, very sensible. Good advice. And the fell running community is very supportive, competitive, but supportive. And I know you've had a number of people helping you with the planning of this.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think everybody wants to inspire somebody else and lay the foundations for the next person. The Wainwright's Challenge itself, where I became aware of it, was back in 2015, when Steve Birkinshaw wrote his book, and I first read that. So I knew what the Wainwrights was at that point. I'd climbed a couple, but didn't know what they were. And then Paul Tierney went and beat that record, but he was helped hugely by Steve Birkinshaw. And of course, there are people every week. If there's somebody on the hill right now trying to beat that specific record, and I think everybody supports everybody. And I've been engaging with Paul as well, and he's helped me out with some tips and tricks, and he's been very supportive. And they are supportive. Of course, people want to retain the records. They know it's going to get beat, so why not be a part of that process of helping the next person along?
Absolutely, great to hear, and I'm sure you'll have lots of people cheering you on. Obviously, we can't come and support you, which right. feels a little bit strange for us at Walking to Winded HQ. You know, we want to be there handing out some treats on the top of the peak, but we'll keep our distance till the end. What do you fast forward to that when you come down off the hill? What do you think you're going to be wanting to tuck into first?
No, this is always an interesting one. My usual go-to is ice cream. I like a little bit of ice cream when I've come down and I've finished. That's usually the thing that I like. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is. But, I mean, I am going to be in a calorie deficit, but I will be well catered for with the food that I'm eating when I'm out and about. So I don't know. Yet to be seen exactly what. It depends what time I finish, of course. If I'm finishing at midnight, it's going to be difficult to get some of these things. But, yeah, you're right about the support. It's a shame that people can't be out there. And I do ask anybody that's interested, follow the tracker. If you see me, take a photo and tag me in social media, but that's as much as I can do. I'm not really allowed pacers or people to be prearranged and see me on the hills. That's just not the way that it works, this challenge.
Well, yeah, it's a real psychological challenge as much as a physical challenge. But what is the crucial bit? What is the forecast saying at the moment?
Well, the forecast, actually, the weather that you see outside is glorious. I was not expecting that. What am I expecting? I'm expecting rain for the complete period, maybe on the bank holiday weekend. I'm talking the end of May. I'm expecting a little bit of sunshine, but, you know, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to be raining now, and it looks absolutely fantastic out there. But that brings upon its own challenges. Because I'm using water from streams, from water bottles with water to go, it's fantastic if I've got an abundance of water. If it's too hot and too dry, then I struggle to find the water. But each way you look at it, there's pros and cons.
Right. Oh well, we wish you the very best of luck. I hope that those conditions we see behind you stay with you for the duration. We'll be watching avidly on the tracker. It will be very special, I'm sure.
No, good. And I think just my way is as many people as can donate or we can touch and can create awareness for the charity, then that's ultimately what this challenge is all about.
Well, have you got your Virgin Money Giving page? Are there any other places people should be looking to follow you?
I mean, if you go to my Instagram page, just search Christopher Gaskin or Mr. G Running Free. That's where I'll be updating my progress. That's where you can find a link to the tracker, and the Virgin Money pages on there as well. So everything's there for people to find.
Great, fantastic. So presumably you're not going for a curry and a few pints tonight. You'll be getting your head down early. Good night's sleep, and then what time are you setting off tomorrow?
So one of the things is I'm going to get a nice big breakfast in the morning before I set off. So that's what I'll be setting off around about 9 o'clock. Just making sure I've got food, because it means I can carry a little bit less food if I get a good feed before I set off. Good
stuff. Great. Well, Chris, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I'm still not convinced the scene behind you is actually real. It looks a little too lovely. But best of luck.
It's fantastic. It's burning my back. I can feel it in my back.
Yeah, you hadn't counted on having to carry sun cream, had you?
Yeah, no, I have got sun cream. I've got sun cream as well.
Yeah. I would hope so, but no, I jest. I hope you do get plenty of sunshine. But good on you and good luck.
Okay, thank you very much, Andy. Thank you very much for everybody at Walking with the Wounded as well for the support.